Now then, crew, welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel, and this is episode 2 of the workstation fabrication build thingy. And we're making 2 workstations, so don't get confused. Now, this week, a whole week's gone by. It's already 5 PM on the Saturday. I've been working in the workshop all day long. This last week we got some new nozzles for the MIG and some more gas for the MIG, so we're good to go. And I've been working on making up those little plates for the feet for the casters to go on. They're all nicely rounded off and everything. I forgot to do the radiuses on the first frame, but I'll sort that out once I clean it up. I'll have to radius them in situ. Now, I did say that I was a bit concerned about how I was going to get the plates, these plates, mounted on the frames in exactly the right position. They need to be, you know, nice and flat in that plane, not like that, and nice and flat like that, not like that. So it's pretty important. So I made a little jig. I've done a couple. I've done the first pair of frames. I'm now doing the second batch of frames for the second workstation. So I'll show you what I've made. I'll weld one up, and then while I've got it off, I'll show you what it is, so you can see it without all the clamps. Here we go. It's used.
You don't paint something without warning.
Honestly. I did intend to film today in the morning, but unfortunately it didn't quite pan out. So we have the shiny stuff. These 2 pieces are welded together. We needed a bit of clearance as we come down here. Look, you see, we needed a bit of clearance for the foot. So a couple of bits of box section welded together, all clamped up nice and tight. And that now, and I'm not kidding, right, making this piece exactly 90 degrees to this piece of box section in 2 planes, that's that way and that way, was an absolute nightmare, because obviously when you weld something it distorts with the heat, and every time I welded down here on this one here, it pulled that down. So I had to, in the end, cut a groove in it down there and put a very thin line of weld down there, and what that did is it pulled the whole thing back up. It wasn't bent for the first few centimeters, and then it seemed to kink downwards a bit. So by putting a weld there, it brought the whole thing up perfectly, and it's nice and straight. I don't know why. Well, I know why it bent. It bent because of the heat. But anyway, not to worry. Made a slight error in the fact we've got from this side here. You can see actually when you look down the frame, there's 3 different planes that I had to take into account, and one of the planes, the least important, I didn't even bother with. And you can see that this piece of steel here, it should be slightly up. Now, as it is at the moment, it's all rigged up for, I can actually bolt the plate into place using these 4 bolt holes. But when I flip the whole thing over to do that side, of course the bolt holes don't line up, and I have to just clamp the plate into place. It's not a problem, it's just the way it is. So the plan of attack now is I tack that into place, 2 tacks on each side of the box, 8 tacks altogether. I think actually just put 1 underneath because I can't see what I'm doing. I can take all this paraphernalia off, and then I can weld it up proper. And once that's done, I can start again on that side, and then I've got 1 more frame to go, which is over here, look, which is the left-hand frame of the second workstation. And then when also that's done, I can then crack on and make the bars, put the ends on the bars that join the 2 frames together for each pair. It's pretty cool. Right, so let me crack on with that, and I'll see you back at the bench. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. So Yes, a very important part. Obviously, the 2 feet need to be in alignment. All right, you can't have one lower than the other, otherwise it's not going to work, is it? So when this foot was put into place, I measured up 350 millimeters to this line here. Now we've got a mark also on the jig, and then using this special tool, my extender square. I know, Heath Robinson, but it does sort of work. That then goes, and I line it up there with the line, and hang on, that way around, sorry, on that on that side of the square, and then I've got 2 pieces of steel that are clamped into place vertically off that box section, and then it allows me to score the line on this side here. Yes, it has to be as accurate as I can possibly do it. But you know, I might show you that bit on the next one. We'll see. Right, stick that back over here. Yeah, good old little G-clamps. Good job. It took me quite some time to line all this up, but to be fair, it's only a short distance extra, so there's very limited margin for error there. Now you might ask, why does Andy put some bolts, some countersunk bolts, into the holes? Well, the idea behind that is it stops any welding splatter getting into the countersunk area that I've already drilled out, because once they're welded into place, I can't re-countersink it. It would be a real ball ache getting the splatter out. I don't mind us sacrificing the odd bolt, but just guarantees we keep all the splatter out of those nice countersinks. So that's why. Right, so I'm going to crack on and do the next one. Woohoo! Alright, you're going to get a lot of rain sound because it's pouring down outside. So the first part of fitting this jig is a couple of stays that go underneath here, look like this. There we go, that's one. Dum, 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 dum. Stick the one about here somewhere. There we go. And then on that, because the box for the jig is 40 by 40, this is 50 by 50, we need to raise the whole jig up by about 5mm to get everything central. So 5mm metal on there like that. That just sits on there quite happily. And now we need the jig. So that just sits on there, and we've got to leave enough room for the plates, so we'll stick that on there like that. That'll do, it's about right for now, that'll do. And we need a clamp. Let's use that one. And that clamp goes onto here, right down to this piece that goes across that we first put on. And reasonably loosely fit for now, I'm not going to tighten it up too much. And the same for this one. Should be about right there, look. There we go, not too tight. And now we're going to make sure it's parallel onto the actual frame itself in that plane. So we use some more clamps to pull that in, hence why we leave these a bit loose. And now we can tighten these up. And we've got another one over here, just to make, you know, because you're going to have two, obviously. There we go. Right, something else to show you actually. Jeez, there's cables all over the place. Now, you might say, Andy, hey Andy, why are you not clamping it to this piece here? Because, you know, you're a long way off, right? Well, there's an answer to that, because there's a weld here, very slightly this box section gets pulled that way. So if you put a straight edge from over there right to the end of the box section down here, it actually isn't straight anymore. It kinks in very slightly. But before that weld, she's nice and straight, and that's why the jig clamps to that straight section there. That's a known good straight section, and then it'll bring that down with this one, the extender box section, onto here to give us now a nice right angle. And the camera's distorted it, don't worry. It's a nice right angle here on this plane, and of course on that plane as well. Fingers in the camera. Wow, okay, there you go. So it took me a while to get that right, but once I did, I've got it forever now. It's really useful. Okay, next job is to pick up the piece off the floor. And now, because I can't use the bolt holes because Andy made a mistake, I now have to score in the middle of this a 50 by 50 box, and that's going to help me to line it up with the box section. It's a bit fiddly this side. Right, said Fred, quick and dirty. So this is 85 across, less 50 is 35. Half of 35 is 17.5, so we'll have a 17.5. I know it's upside down to you guys, but believe me, it's near enough 17.5. Oh, you're going to be pedantic again, aren't you, Andy? Oh, jeez. That'll do. 17.49. Okay. And then we'll just score down. It's only a guide. We'll score that down there. Oh, jeez. Down there. Now we need 60, so that plus 50 is 67.5. And I wish I'd taken more care doing that jig now, but it is what it is. It's actually really tricky because of the welds, you know, causing the distortion. Okay, right, we've got to turn this round now. Now, 100 across here, 50, so it's 25 either side, so 25, 25, go on, you can do it. That's near enough. Down there, and 75, so 50 add 25 is 75. A bit too much. That'll do. And then we'll score again. Notice that I've always stuck to the same side for scoring both lines. Very important. Okay, right, just gonna see if we can line that up now. Ooh, you're mounted on the frame with a magnet. That might not be a good idea. Oh, that's not too bad actually. So I need to tappy tap that in there. Boom, boom, boom. So you'll notice that this is way out. That's why. That's the error that I made. Hopefully you guys won't fall off while I'm hammering actually. What did the fun any good, will it? Looks pretty good. Where's Torchy? Let's have a look. Or a fraction more. Right, Torchy, don't fall off, whatever you do. Fraction more. How's the top looking? Well, that's not too bad at all actually. However, we have a problem, Houston. Let me show you what the problem is. Okay. Now remember that 350mm line, that datum line that we've got that we're sharing from one side to the other in order to get the distance that the feet are on the frame exact. Well, if we look down here, I've got a square. Hopefully you can see this. If I bring that down, in fact, can I do it that way? I'm just going to take a clamp off. I know I shouldn't, and I wouldn't normally, This is just for you guys, because you need to see this. There we are. Do it properly now. Okay, so can you see that the lines on the left hand side are a fraction lower, about 1 millimeter, I would say, that distance there. Now, am I being pedantic? That's probably, yeah, I would say it's about 1 millimeter actually, maybe just under 1 millimeter. So this plate here is tight. So what has to happen here is I need to just get the grinder with a flat disc and just take a little bit off the bottom of this box section, so that when I refit the jig, the whole thing will move up a fraction and it'll all line up. God damn it. Right, so Fred, it's all back on, plates sort of wedged in place. Doesn't matter, I don't need to worry about keeping the bottom of this box section square. You can see when I've been grinding it, there's now quite a gap down that bottom corner. Doesn't matter, because as long as this plate's held flat by our jig, it will, you know, the weld will fill up all the little holes and stuff, little gaps. But more importantly, are we lined up? So there is our square. There's no gap, by the way, anywhere down here. It's all nice and tight, so it's parallel, which is the important thing, so we can run off that side. And if we look down from the top, I would say now Andy's taken a little bit too much off, and we now have the jig is a fraction too high on the frame. So what we'll do in this circumstance, we'll line up the foot, we'll clamp the foot with some mole grips, normally it'd be bolted, but clamp it to the mole grips onto this main plate here, which is, by the way, is I think about 12mm plate, hell of a hellish stuff. And then we'll just use a hammer and go tappy tap tap on the top end of the jig, and that will bring it down. We can bring it down until we get those lines to line up. Whew, so close. Let's see where we're at. Hopefully the torch will help you a bit. Right, so it needs to go that way a bit and down a little bit. Right, torch, you stay there. So we'll go that way. Not too bad. Down a bit. It's actually quite easy to move this time round. Now I'm not looking at this, because we know this is wrong. I'm looking at the surface of the box section and lining that up with the line. Okay. And what I do is I put a ruler across here and look at this surface here. Make sure it's parallel with the ruler as well before we go ahead. I think a bit like that. Okay, I'm going to put a pair of mole grips down on the bottom just to hold it into place, and then we'll double check it. One more check before, I think, hopefully Mr. Mole Grip didn't move things around too much. It might be a little bit low. Yeah. This kind of stuff can be quite fiddly. This is not your Colin Furze chisel, you know that. Alright, I think we're about there. Let's double check with our ruler, and I'll take you on the journey. Okay, so just getting our ruler, I'm just going to sit it on top of the box section. Alright, like that, you see, on top of the box section, bring it down, and what we're looking to check is to make sure that the gap across the top here, Jesus, I need to cut my nails, is, so the ruler is parallel to this surface here, and looks pretty good. It's maybe a little bit high at this end. Like I say, ignore this surface because it's completely wrong. Yeah, I think it wants to come up a fraction at this side. So we'll get Mr. Hammer and we'll tap him into place. Let's see how that looks. Okay, ruler's back in place again. Oh yes, that's better. You can tell when something's parallel. Every time I bring it down too far, it goes out of focus. So there you go, the ruler wasn't square. There you go, it's done. That's it. We can tack that into place now. Okay, all I have to do now is tack that one up and weld it up. You've already seen that when I did the other side, the first side of this particular frame, so no need to see that anymore. I've got one more frame to do. I'll get that done as well, and I'll see you back at the bench shortly. Here's a word from tool girl Holly. Over to you, Holly.
Now then, crew, tool girl Holly here. Don't miss the next live stream, 8:30 AM Sunday.
Holy moly, it's getting late. 20 to 7. Tea will be ready any minute. All those feet, so to speak, the mounts for the casters are all on. Went very successful, very happy with that. Didn't burn myself at all. So I've just got to tidy up, pack up the workshop, unpack it for a live stream at 8:30 in the morning. So I'll be out for about 7:30, it's about an hour to get set up. And then after the live stream, we'll carry on. It's going to be a weird video, isn't it? But tomorrow we get to make the beams that join the two frames together, and we get to use the larger of the laser cutting eyelets, I call those, and then some bracing, and then it'll be freestanding. Jesus, it's taken ages. Right, I'll see you tomorrow. You'll see me in a few seconds. I'll run out. It's Sunday! That's right, we've done the live stream. I cracked on and got some more bits and pieces done, and now it's time for me to take you back on the journey of building the workstations for in the house for computery stuff and possibly some soldering and other bits and pieces. So, without further ado, let me show you what I've done so far. Okay, frame number one for the first workstation has now got its side lugs put on. These will mount the cross pieces. There's one down the bottom on the back leg, and then we've got two for the main desk, and then we've got two for the upper shelf. And the second frame is now on the operating bench again, and I've just done that one. Ignore the welding splatter, Mrs. Mechanic's going to fix all that. Now, when you're welding these on, it's obviously critical that we get them vertical. We don't want them to veer off to one side, and that makes it very difficult, because when you weld down one side, if you did the whole weld in one run, this plate, as that cools, gets pulled across, which is not good. So I always find I've got to weld, tack it in place, weld a bit on this side, weld a bit on this side, weld a bit on this side. You got the idea. Weld a bit on this side, work your way down, and that way it sort of keeps the pull even. And you've got to be pretty quick on doing one side with its adjacent pair, its brother, so to speak, on the other side of the plate. But so far I've not had to grind any off and start again, so I am quite happy with that. Now the next one is this one here. Now you might say, Andy, how do you know where to mark up? Well, I'll show you. So I get a bit of angle in, and it sits on there like that. I normally, sorry you can't see, I normally, if I just put it on there as a demo, so it's, you know, a smaller piece would be better. I'm not prepared to cut it. I then clamp that into place, and then I get, remember this? This is cool, right? So down that end, I have clamped into place just some kind of plate to extend the rear surface of this foot bracket for the casters. And with this one clamped into place, I then offer that up, press the magic button, that turns it on, it gives us a little red dot, hopefully you can see that down there. I now press the button, without wobbling it too much, and it gives me a reading 1679. Now obviously it's moved a bit, it's not quite on the line. That should be 1680, and believe me, that line is 1680 millimeters from that rear surface down there, as was that one. Right, let's turn it off. Nice. Got to save the batteries. It chomps batteries, this thing. Okay. So I made up. Well, first of all, let's look at, the diagram. So this is the frame, and this is where the plate needs to be positioned relative to the side face of the box section, because the cross piece, those bits over there, I want the plate to sit down the center line of the box section in the same way that we did the smaller ones. Okay, I know it's not in focus, we'll try. So I did a quick calculation. It's 50 by 50 box, center line is 25mm across from one side, so you've got a split of 25-25. These plates are 8mm thick. Yes, they're beefy. So 4mm of that is to one side of the center line, and that's the mating surface. We then have, so that leaves 21mm remaining. We have an 8mm plate, so we deduct 8mm off that, and that gives us 13mm. So this face here, right, that's the one that's welded to the frames that we're doing now. This face here, the outer face, needs to be 13mm inboard of the side of the box section. How are you going to do that, Andy? Well, we have a tool for a job, right? So if I can stand that up right, there we go. Can you see there's a nut and a washer in there? Just happens to be, hey, guess what, 13mm. That's right. So now I can clamp this surface to the side of the box section. So we go over here. Boom, boom, boom. It's pretty cool when you sit down and think about stuff. I know for some people this is really easy, but sometimes, you know, I need to be accurate. So that goes, I clamp that, the black piece gets clamped to the side, and then we can just move it up and down until the front edge of that is in line with the line that we've scored, and check it's all square and everything, and then tack it into place. Pretty good. So I'm going to do this one next, and then I'll see you back at the bench. Now you're mounted to the frame, so you're going to get a few shakes, but hopefully it'll give you a good view. So I'm just lining up this edge here with that line. There will be some slight adjustments once it's in place. Make sure your clamp goes in the middle of the box section. There we go. Now, how we're looking, just tighten up the bolt. There we go. Right, so needs to go back a fraction. And when you're tapping it, I know you'll probably never do this, but when you're tapping it, tap this bracket. Don't hit this because it might just rotate it around a little bit. And I'm looking down from the top now on that surface. And I want it bang on the line. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. We need a square. Now I could tighten the bolt, but I don't think there's any need to do that. That's good. Double check on this side because there was a bit of, there we go, that's better. Okay, and it still lines up with, oh, it's a fraction over. What size spanner that is? 16 maybe? Probably it is. There we are. Just give it a little tweak so it maintains position. Right, that's bang on. Quick check with the old square, that'll do me nicely. Okay, so you can see now, because we've got a 13mm spacer here, which happens to be a nut and a washer, we've got the face of the box section which is this face here. We've got 13mm indent, and now the outer face of the bracket is exactly 13 mils from the edge of the box section, which is exactly what we need. And it doesn't move. It's all in place, ready to tack up. Another one bites the dust. Okay, there you go. So it's in. I actually knocked a bit of the splatter off because it was quite embarrassing how much splatter there was today on that one. But she is nice and true. Very happy with that. And you can see I did the weld in 2 stages. And that seems to work okay. I sometimes do 3, but this one turned out to be 2, which is just the way it is. Now, Mrs. Mechanic will be cleaning up things like this. That's not what Mr. Mechanic does. Mrs. Mechanic does all that, and she's getting a nice workstation out of it, so she's going to be very, very, very happy. Right, that's those 2 lugs done on there. We've now got 2 more to do here, boom, boom, and another one to do on the rear, which is down on this side of this one, so it all matches that one. 3 more to fit on this frame. Am I going to do the other frames? No, I'm not. That's going to wait until, because they're pretty easy to line up. So I won't waste any more time doing the other pair of frames today. I want to crack on and get at least 5, if not all 10 of the crossbars done. We've got to make a jig so that not these ones because they're a bit longer, but the actual holes, sorry, wrong way around. So imagine the box sections between these, and we've got like a little squiggly line down the middle. It's an engineering drawing. The holes on all 10 bars need to be exactly the same distance apart. Now remember before, once we cut the slots in the box section, we have got a little bit of movement with these, so I can use that and have some bolts tacked to something longer to guarantee that every single one can be just dropped on onto the 2 protruding bolts, tack it up, weld it up, job done, and they should all be exactly the same. But that's for a bit later on, so I'll put you that weird hyperlapse thing on again while I do the last ones. You can listen to some music, and I'll see you back at the bench, and we'll plan our attack on those big cross pieces. Enjoy. So close. So close to putting the bottom little bracket on the wrong side. Did you spot that? I bet you did, but you were crying out, Andy, stop! It's in the wrong place. It needs to be on the other side because it's the other frame. I didn't hear you, and luckily I spotted it just before I was about to tack up. Would have made a mess, wouldn't it? Nothing that can't be fixed though. Okay, so both frames for Workstation One are now done. I've now got to find a piece of steel. It might just be long enough. I've got some box section up there, and I think it's going to be long enough to use to make a jig for making those 10 cross pieces. Once they're done today, I can bolt up this Workstation One, just tentatively, and we can take a look and see just how big it is, because they are monstrous. Right, let me get set up with the jig, and I'll see you. In fact, here's a word from Tool Girl Holly. Holly, over to you.
Hey! While Andy's doing that, check out my Instagram page, Tool Girl Holly.
We're doing alright. We're 2 coffees in since I last spoke to you, and probably a couple of cigarettes as well, to be fair, which I'm not proud of. I've come up with an ingenious plan. With these being the main part of the frame, and not just a crossbar, a diagonal, I need to be more accurate as to the positioning of, I haven't got one here, but the little brackets that go at the end of the box section, right? So I did a thing. Have a look at this. Okay, I've been on the lathe and I've made something. I have made a spacer that is exactly 21mm in length. So now I can clamp anything basically on the outside. I've just used another one of the brackets. I've already cut the slot, drilled a hole, you know, like we did with the small stuff, and I've made sure that this one is parallel to the box section by putting a flat edge against the side of the box section across here, and it's absolutely bang on both sides. So now it's suspended in the middle, parallel to the box section, and I can now tack that into place and then weld it up, and I can do the same thing at the other end. This will be the template, and then from this I will then, with this one piece of box section I've left for making the adventure trailer, it's long enough, in fact it's a bit too long but it'll be alright, we will drill a couple of holes, put bolts through, and then the holes will be drilled through these. Focus, Andy, through these, so that every one that I make from now on will be exactly the same, because all these pieces will be lined up on that one piece of box section. I could use one of the pieces, one of the cross pieces. There's 9 more over there. This is one of them, part D for reference, because they are a bit too long. I just ordered 2.4 meters, but that's the overall length of the desk. So, and I did cut it off in 2 separate pieces. I made a miscalculation. That much has to come off each of those lengths. And just to give you an idea, we'll go and look at the drawing in a second. Oh, it's not long enough. Hang on. Where's the other ruler? There we are. So I had to cut off 260mm. Wow. So I'm going to have lots of pieces of box section to use for other projects. Woohoo! That's a win in my book. Although it does involve me having to cut more metal now. So if we go over here, I did do a drawing. Did a bigger workshop. It's too small. And you can see, just for your reference, this is... So there's the box section there, look, 50 by 50. And this is just me working out how much of the plate, this plate, the long one, goes inside the box section. I've kept it at 30mm, the same as the 30 by 30 box ones that we made, which are those ones there actually. Perfect. And these are my calculations. So the overall length of the box section has to be 2140mm. Not 2400. So yes, 260mm to come off, First calculation incorrect, second calculation correct. Honestly, it's getting late in the day. So I'm going to crack on, get these tacked in and welded in on the template first cross brace, and then it shouldn't be too long before I can knock up at least 4 more today, and we can get these 2 frames bolted together. I can't wait, to be honest. This is like day 4 doing this job. It's going on forever. Now, critical point, we need to make sure that the gap between the holes is bang on with this one, this being the template. So, need another bracket. Okay, so everything's lined up, other than the fact we don't know if the 2 holes are exactly the right distance apart. Because those end plates can move in and out a little bit. It's not an exact science as that bit. So, I need to put the cutting plan on how I'm going to measure accurately between the 2 holes. I need to have a think. Well, I've come up with another cunning plan. Today is the day of many cunning plans. Okay, take a look at this. So, we know that the distance from the center of the hole to the back edge of this plate is 70 millimeters, and it was laser cut, so it has to be right? Then we offer some box section up with a 3.1 millimeter wall thickness. This is 3.1. Remember that, it's very important. We'll make sure she's square, she is, and then we'll go down to the other end of the box section. And basically I've mimicked the same thing. I couldn't be bothered to make another spacer. I might still have to make one later on for the main jig, but we'll see. But that's all clamped into place. The bolt is, you know, it's lined everything up. It's pretty good. And of course, another piece of angle iron with a 3.3 mil thickness to it. So, with a little bit of calculations, you like your calculations, don't you? There you go, look. The distance between the inner edge of that angle iron at both ends should be 2073.8 millimeters. Ah, yes, this will be useful. Right, let's turn that on. We'll stick him on there. We'll get the little dot lined up at the far end. Oh, I can't reach the button, hang on. We'll do best of 3. Okay, what have we got? All the same. I like them when they're all the same. 2071. So, we need to increase it by 2 to 3 millimeters. Yes, it doesn't do. I could have done with 1 more decimal place. It doesn't give me it. So we'll aim for 2074 is nearest, right? Because we're 2073.8, so that'll work. So I need 3 more millimeters between these 2 points. That one's already welded in, so quite simply, I just need to move that one out by 3 millimeters, and then we can measure it again. Okay, leave it with me. Back in a second. Right, we will just score that for now. There we go. You're actually on the beam. We'll remove the clamp. And then, you're in the way. Hang on, I'm just going to move you back a little bit. That should be enough to get my ruler in. Yes, just. Okay, so now I'm going to move him 3 millimeters. And that does seem to be about 3 millimeters. So we'll get the clamp. We will stick him on. Okay, about 3mm. There we go. Now I've got to make sure everything's lined up again. So I'll just bring you up a little bit so you can just get a better view. There we go. I'm just going to lock the focus because we're professionals, not. Okay, so we've got to line everything up before we can take a measurement. This is the thing. And we're way out, so I'll just bring him out. There we go. And he needs tapping. Oh, he's way in. Hang on. You're not going to like this. Wasn't too bad, was it? Wasn't too bad. Okay. Have a look in this side. We're pretty good, actually. I know you can't see everything. Maybe one little tap that way. Of course, it pivots on the thingy, doesn't it? There we go. That's better. And of course, that's good. Right, so we'll replace that and we'll take a measurement. Okay, let's see how we get on. 2074 is the magic number. Power is on. Make sure this is all aligned properly. Stick it on the back there. Press the fire button. Best of 3. Woohoo! Look at that. Perfect. Right, so we'll get that welded up. Going to be hot. Hot. Oh man, could have got another right size spanner, couldn't you, Andy? It's all right. It works. You can't feel it being hot. It can't be hot, right? Ooh. Okay. Stick him on there. Is it going to work? Yes, it is. Stick him on there, our spacer. Okay, first one of 10 is now made. So now I need to make the jig, which will mean we don't have to keep measuring every time. It'll just standardize the whole thing. And then I can crack on and get them all done. Holy crap, it's gone 7 PM. I'm going to be in so much trouble shortly. Anyway, I'll show you how far I've got. I'm not going to get them all made today. We'll just carry on with this video next time I'm in the workshop. But this is what I've been up to. Okie dokie. Workshop's a tip. I've been on the lathe again, look. So I decided not to use the small 40x40 box because by using 50x50 I can just put clamps either side to align everything really easily. So I decided not to drill any holes either. I just welded a couple of bolts in the right place from the template and then made a couple of new spacers. There we are, thank you Fern. 14.3mm wide because the bolt head is 6.7. That's right, and it all adds up to 21. So there's a 21mm gap between the surface of this box section and the underside of this plate, which means that everything lines up perfectly. This one is all ready for tacking together and welding up. And that'll be the first one made off the jig. Now you might say, hey Andy, this is great, but what happens when you get to the number 10? Well, number 10 I'm just going to have to make in the traditional way or use one that I've already made and flip it over the other way and use that as a jig and just make up a couple of new spacers or use washers or something. But I thought that was quite a smart idea. Seemed to work pretty well. Didn't have to drill any holes either. So I'm going to crack on. So another day comes to an end. I've run out of time. Things have gone pretty well, but slow. A lot slower than I originally planned for this project. But anyway, it is what it is. I have another week of work ahead of me for my day job. Back in the workshop again on Saturday. So, what have we achieved today? Sort of the second part of this video. Well, we've fitted the lugs onto the frames. That's basically all we've done, and we've made 2 bars. And I need to make 3 more before I can assemble one of the frames, which will be Workstation One. So, Saturday morning I will crack on and get the other 3 bars made for Workstation One, and then I'll check in with you. Until then, enjoy your week, and I'll see you in a few seconds, hopefully. I'm back, and it's not the following weekend, it's the weekend after. 2 weeks have passed since I last filmed on this project, and that's because I've had a serious problem. Now, I made up all 10 of the cross beams last Saturday. Thought, great, we'll get them all made up, we've got the jig, we'll get it all done. I had a problem. And the problem was that the inserts, the flat plates that I was welding in the end of the bars, were not 100% aligned with the tabs on the end frames. And through further investigation, I found that we're looking at about a 1 degree twist on those plates. Now, given the length of the workstation, the problem that caused is once I tightened them all up into place, it caused one of the frames to lift and twist round to one side, taking some of the weight off one of the feet that was on the ground. I've got a slab of concrete in the workshop which I know is dead level, so I'm able to use that as my sort of reference point. And it took me a while to work out what was going on. Was it a problem with the frames? Was it a problem with the bars? What was it, you know? And through setting up basically a rig on the bench, using some flat plates, sorry, not flat plates, some more box section actually, clamping one to the box section of the horizontal piece and another one. In fact, I'll show you, because we've still got 5 of the beams that are still wrong, and the rectification work was quite time consuming. But the good news is a full set of 5 are now in place on the first workstation, Workstation One, which is going to be Mrs. Mechanic's workstation. So let me get that set up, I'll show you the problem, and I'll show you what I did to rectify it. Okay, I've mounted 2 pieces of smaller box section that I'm using actually for the workstations, but they're, you know, pretty handy for this kind of job. I've clamped one to the flat on the cross piece. That's just mounted in the vise. The angle of that is incidental, it makes no difference. What we're looking at is the difference between the angle between the box and the end piece, and ultimately the 2 tabs. The angle between this tab and the one at the far end is the critical point. So if I just come back, and we'll just move the trolley out of the way, there we go, and if you look, you can see there's quite a discrepancy in angle. So that tab there is not in full alignment with the box section itself, it's slightly off, and that's the problem. So we grab the digital spirit level, which is super useful for this kind of thing, and it is really obvious it's out. But if we want to quantify it, so that one there runs at 1.8 degrees, which is fine, it's just the way it's mounted in the vise. But if we stick it on this one here, you can see that's at 3.7. So the difference, so 1.8, oh geez, get off, to 3.6 is 1.8 degrees out. You can see that on there, look. Probably not the best on the camera, but anyway, so it's 1.6, sorry, what was it? Have a look. 1.7 on the rear, and deduct 1.7 from 3.7, it's 2 degrees out. Wow, that's a lot. And when you look over the whole distance of the frame, what it was doing when it was being bolted up is it was lifting that rear wheel off the ground, that left-hand wheel, and of course this wheel just here as well was losing some of its weight. Essentially twisting the whole frame, which isn't ideal. So to fix that, I had to cut every single tab out. I did one at a time and then bolted it to the lug on the frame, bolted it up, supported it, got it all lined up, tacked it into place, and then welded it up on the bench. And then rechecked it, and it was perfect. They're all good to go. What I also like, I'm not one for grinding welds, but we've got a bench top to sit on here. It's not going to sit on top of these beams anymore. I've decided it's going to fit inside. It's going to be, so the top of the worktop is going to be flush with the actual box section itself. It should be quite nice, actually, I think. So this will be the edge of the bench. We'll have steel as the edge rather than have wood, which would have to dress up and stuff. So it sort of reinforces the fact it's more of a steel workbench than it is a wooden workbench, so to speak. Plus there's no chance of splinters and that kind of thing. I also added the diagonals up there, look, and I used the same lengths as we've used on this piece here. So I stole those off of Workstation 2 just to speed the job up. And if we come around this side here, that's how I did the tabs. And the reason for that, there's another reason, there's lots of slight design modifications here compared to the original drawing, is it's got some temporary casters on at the moment just to wheel it around the workshop. Obviously we've got this overhang here, so when it's in the office it won't be able to go any further towards the wall than when it hits here. So there's a gap, there's about a 25mm, 30mm gap here. So I decided to have that box section sat just back a little bit. So then, for Mrs. Mechanic, she wants a pin board all the way across here. And what she doesn't want, which is good, it's a bit of time saving, she doesn't want the shelves coming down from about here to here. She doesn't want any shelves. She wants a completely open worktop, which is great. That saves a bit of steel and a lot of time. Right, back to the bench. So, as you can tell, my last Saturday, in fact my entire weekend last weekend, just flipped completely to stopping building and fixing problems that I'd created. I just didn't appreciate how such a small angle could make such a big difference on a frame when you're trying to get it square. And it's mainly down to the fact that the frame is 2.4 meters long. So it's a very long frame, and of course that angle is sort of has more of an effect. Anyway, it's fixed now. The next step is to put some cross beams across to support the timber that we're going to use for the desk itself. And of course we've got a shelf up the top as well, so we need some smaller pieces of box to go across and for that timber to sit on, and a few lugs so we can bolt it down as well. And I'll use the same little small tabs to create those lugs because we've got plenty of them and they're already made, so it's dead easy. I'm going to use countersink bolts, and the countersunk head will be on the timber side, so I don't need to countersink the tabs, which is good because Sheldon the mill's poorly at the moment. He needs a new motor. The brushes are burnt out, so we're sort of, struggling a little bit here, running on sort of 50%. So the timber that I've chosen to use for the bench, let's take a look at that now. Okay, most recently saved file. I did a screenshot from their website, and it's a Durapal bench top. Now they're a bit longer than we need. They're currently just over 3 meters in length. We're going to get them cut down in store to 2.3 meters. Now that will give me some spare, which I can use for the shelves on my workstation. Like I say, Mrs. Mechanic's workstation won't have any shelves now, which is great, apart from the big one at the top. And for the big one at the top, I think we'll just use some MDF, nice and cheap, because it's not really in sight, it just needs to work as a shelf. So this is Lancelot oak, and the timber is, there's no specs on this particular picture, but the thickness of the timber is 30 millimeters. So we need to incorporate that in the design because I want the top of the bench top to be flush with the box section running from one end of one frame to the other. So it's basically all part of the bench top. So it should be pretty good. So 30mm is the important thing, 600mm wide, which is perfect for the design because it is 600mm from the inside of one box section to the other. I'll show you. Let's have a look. We come over here. The distance from here, the inside edge of this box section to this box section here, is 600mm, and the distance from the inside of the end frame box section to the other end frame box section is 2,300 meters. Sorry, 2,300 millimeters. Yes, it's been a long day already. So I'm going to get them to cut that timber down to 2.3 meters. Maybe I'll allow maybe 5 mil less, just to give us slight clearance so it drops straight in. I don't have to recut the timber when I come home. And having a tiny gap won't be a problem, to be fair. And they're standard 600 mil wide, so it should just slot straight in between these two rails. So the next job is to put some cross pieces from one side to the other. I think 3 will be fine. I'm tempted to do it in the same way as these with the tabs that we've done for the diagonals and stuff. Up there, look, it's very dark in this workshop at the moment. Or I could just weld them straight in. But that wouldn't be, in line with the design. Everything's box section that's bolted into place. So I'm going to stick along those lines rather than just cheat. I want to stick to the brief. But for now, it's looking pretty good. I'll also need to make 3 more of those for the top, but I've not decided yet how thick the timber is we're going to use on the top. And again, we're going to have the timber flush with the top of the box section. That cuts down the amount of timber that we need, and it makes it a much nicer finish rather than having timber sat on the top of the box section. Much easier putting boxes up and stuff where you've got this nice radius on the box section. No chance of it catching the wood and splintering. Okay, well, that sort of brings you all up to speed. So, still lots of work ahead, but I reckon, fingers crossed, we'll get this frame finished today. So Mrs. Mechanic can clean it all up next weekend, and I'll have the other one finished for next Sunday, and we can get them all sprayed up. The paint that I'm going to be using is extremely expensive stuff, and it's designed for coffins, for the metal fixtures on coffins, believe it or not, caskets, which is really weird. But when I ordered the paint, they didn't tell me about there's an adhesive additive that you can put in to help it bond to clean steel. They didn't order that for me, so they've had to order that, and it's still on back order. Fingers crossed it'll be here for next weekend. Right, I'm going to crack on. We'll do a bit of a montage of cutting and drilling and welding and stuff, and then I'll show you how it turns out. See you shortly.
tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you try to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away, as you fade away. Try to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to grey.
Well, I used the actual frame as a jig for where the first one went across, and they're all done now, all made up nicely and parallel and everything. I used an 8mm spacer and stuff where I needed to. On this bit, hang on a minute. Yes, on this bit here, once it's got another plate on top, there's an 8mm gap to this plane here, so I used a bit of plate, and where we go. That little jig that I made at the top, which sits on top of the thing, really useful actually, it speeded the whole job up. But saying that, it's still taking quite a while to make 12 little bars. 6 for this frame, 6 for the second frame, Workstation 2, which will be the one with all the shelves and stuff. So next job is for me to weld these up proper And I'm not sure whether I'm going to bother grinding them back like I did the main pieces. Probably not, to be fair. I don't like grinding stuff back because it reduces strength. So I think I'll be leaving all the welds showing on these ones. So I better make a good job, right? Okay, well, I'll crack on because it's way past 6:30 in the evening and Mrs. Mechanic is saying, "Are you coming in yet?" Not yet, honey. Still got lots to do. By gum. Right, they're a bit hot, but we can crack on. Right, using that jig again, which is really cool. And we just pop that on there, just to line everything up. This top one is squared up, so it's just going to basically follow suit. Hence why I need to make sure it's parallel. Hence these bits. Now, is one clamp going to be enough? Not really, Mr. Young. Let's do it properly. There we go. That should work. I think everything should be lined up. All I need to do now is tack in. I put the extra little bits on that go on the frame. You can see down here that we've already got those two on. So I've just got to tack those into place. And then I'll take the whole beam off and weld them up off the beam, put them back on, job as a carrot. Right, time for some welding. It's a lot darker down this end of the workshop. We don't have the lighting, unfortunately, not at the moment. Some of the lights have failed me. So let's just hang in there. Boom, boom, boom. This will be the last one for tonight. Right, said Fred, how are we looking? Hang on. That's better. Get a little bit over there. Right. Perfect. There's a lot of variables on this thing, but it's looking good. It's sort of as I well, there he is. Look, he's gone now. Little blob. Now you might wonder, how's Andy going to line these up? Well, easy little trick. We'll stick him in the vise like that. We'll just tighten him up. Will do. Right, last one for today. Okay, rear to the rear. Is it going to fit? It is. Super go. Stick it on there for now, just to steady it. That one on there. Quick check. all looks good, rear to rear. Right, quick tacky tack tack and we're done. Right, we should be there. Ooh, what a great day today's been. Well, that's it. Those 3 are in. The other 9 are already made. All the tabs are made. The only thing I haven't done is countersink the underside of the tab on the crossbeams, because eventually it'll be a countersink from the underside going up. You won't see the nut because it'll be hidden, you see, so we can have the countersink from the underneath. And the countersinks tend to help with alignment as well, actually. They're sort of self-aligned. They're really, really good, and I've got lots of them, so I might as well use them up. So that really brings us to the end of episode 2 of building the workstations, and what an epic build it's turned out to be. A lot more work than I'd really planned, to be fair, but very, very happy the way things are going. Don't want to rush them, because, you know, you only get to make your own desk once, don't you, really? And I think it's going to be a pretty cool desk. A real Andy Mechanic desk. And Mrs. Mechanic likes it as well, so I mean, it must be pretty good, right? Okay, crew, if you haven't already, why not subscribe to the channel? Ring the bell, and that way YouTube will let you know as and when I upload any new videos. Episode 3 should be out in a few weeks' time. I'm really busy at the moment. Hopefully I'll get them finished this next, well, I've got tomorrow and next weekend. I'd like to have them painted. I've ordered the timber, picking that up on Monday. So things are moving along quite happily, but I don't want to rush it. Anyway, you'll also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and you used to find me on Instagram. Here's a rant, okay? I got hacked. So anyone that follows my Instagram account, andy.mechanic, you're going to find that somebody's doing really well with Bitcoin and buying Mercedes cars and stuff. That's not me. They changed my email that's part of my profile on Instagram. So whenever I try and reset it, the criminal gets the password, gets the reset code, not me. I don't know what to do. I need to try and get it sorted out. Eventually you'll see me again on my Instagram, but at the moment it's somebody else. So my sincere apologies, and if anyone knows how to help, let me know. Now, what else? If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that through Patreon. That's not been hacked yet. Or PayPal. That hasn't been hacked yet either. Luckily. They did hack my Facebook and they did hack my emails. I managed to get those back. So they were on a mission, weren't they? I'll tell you. So Patreon, you can do a one-off payment or you can just do a monthly payment. And you get access to all sorts of stuff. I have got a lot of things to upload onto Patreon. I just got to remember my password. I haven't been on there for a while and it's written down somewhere. You know what passwords are like. Maybe I can reset that one. With PayPal, just don't do a donation. Nowadays on PayPal, you have to be a registered charity to receive a donation through PayPal. I'm not a registered charity and I very much doubt that very many people are, to be perfectly honest. So you'll have to just send a payment and send it to andymechanic@live.co.uk. Same email address as down in the description, and no, they haven't hacked it, not yet. I got it back. Okay, crew, it's been a very long day. Mrs. Mechanic is going to be, well, she's very tolerant. She'll be a little bit grumpy because I am very, very late into the house and I get to do it all over again tomorrow. Don't forget, every other Sunday, so every fortnight, we do a live stream on a Sunday morning as well, and we get to taste one of the epic pies from around New Zealand, whether it's a steak and cheese, mince and cheese, who knows, bacon and egg, there's all sorts of different types. I'll give you a bit of feedback, just for a bit of fun, and you get a chance to have a chat with me, interact direct with Andy Mechanic. Okay, crew, I've got a lot of packing up to do. See you next time. Cheers, over and out. And we get the flip up again.
Oh!
Oh,